Today we are discussing the novelization to
Yo, hey,
Teenage
take this
Mutant
pizza out of
Ninja
my
Turtles.
hand. Hey, what are you talking about? Talking about turtles? Yo, you guys talking about turtles? Y'all are weird. Nerds.
All right, cowabunga, dudes. Welcome back to another season of Paper Movies. Today we are discussing the novelization to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This novelization was written by Dave Morris, based off the screenplay by Todd W. Langan and Bobby Herbeck. And of course, TMNT was based off the comic book series by Eastman and Laird. And this one is the novelization to the classic film that came out in the early 1990s. Now, there was also another novelization that was written based off this film that was meant for young readers that was written by B.B. Hiller. And both Matthew and myself, by the way, hi, Matthew.
Hi. Did I just do a Pee Wee Herman laugh? If I did, I'm sorry.
It fits. It all.
Okay.
But this novelization is actually pretty interesting because this one was not released in the United States. This one was actually originally released in the United Kingdom. And I had no idea that this existed. I thought all of the novelizations were the young reader ones. So when I first found out about this, obviously I had to get it. And surprisingly, wasn't that expensive.
Right. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people were crying when they found out that this existed way back in the day and they couldn't get their hands on it. It's easier now.
Yep. Thanks, eBay.
Yep.
But again, guys, welcome back to our 5th season of Paper Movies. As always, we are your hosts. I'm Adam, and
I'm Matthew.
and we're excited to kick off another season of Paper Movies. We got quite a bit of fun novelizations to discuss this season, and we got some guests that are going to be premiering in some of our episodes that we've talked about. But again, today we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this one is pretty special to me and Matthew because we are both pretty diehard fans of the Turtles.
I bleed green ooze.
So before we get started, here is a brief summary. The story takes place in the early 1990s. There is a series of criminal acts taking place throughout New York City. One night, a reporter named April O'Neil is attacked in the alleyway outside of her news station, but she is saved by 4 mysterious figures who are revealed to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We got Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, and Michelangelo. They live in the sewers, and they are trained by their sensei, Splinter. And together, they team up to go up against the Foot Clan, led by the mysterious Shredder. This is such a great movie.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I'm so glad that we're talking about this because this novelization actually surprised me because I was just not expecting some of the things that I was going to be reading from this, but we'll get into that in just a bit. But Matthew,
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like we talked about, a classic. You love it. I love it. I've been a fan of the cartoons. This movie has always been one of my favorite movies. You know, it's like the magic that they put to film. It just can't be topped today. They've tried so many other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle projects. I know a lot of people like a lot of the new stuff. No problem there. I just can't get hooked into a lot of the new things. But this, perfection in my eyes. This book, I was actually, like you, shocked with this. I don't understand how an author can write, how many pages? 187 pages? No, 189 pages. Put in the movie and also add things. And you can get through it in just a couple hours. While other novelizations can take you days because they're like this thick. If you're just listening, I'm like 3 inches thick, and they're like 400 to 500 pages. Like, why? And they hardly add anything new.
yeah,
I think Dave Morris did fantastic with this.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. When I first picked this up and started reading it. I had we talked about maybe wanting to discuss it, but that was like a couple of years back. So I was like, I'm just going to read it just for fun, and I was actually really surprised. I actually finished this in about 3 hours because I just could not put it down. And that's probably a good indication of how my thoughts onto this book. But yeah, kind of like what you said, they have adapted the Ninja Turtles several different ways, and I mean, some of the new stuff is pretty good. I recently reviewed on my channel the new movie that came out, Mutant Mayhem,
Mhm.
and I did a ranking of all the Ninja Turtle films prior to Mutant Mayhem, but I this one is the OG. This one is the best still to this day. Like it's it's a simple concept, but it works, and it's a great film. But today we're not talking about the film. We're talking about the novelization. So let's get into
Right.
our thoughts.
Right.
Matthew, you start.
So I've got to say, there's a lot. There's a lot of things here that were altered from the book, and I thought they were done in the best way possible for a book based off of a comic. A book based off of a movie based off of a comic book, because the author Dave Morse infused both of those together in several different areas, and I thought it was so smooth. A lot of those changes that were made from the comic book to the film, I preferred a lot of the stuff that happened in the movie, but there were some things when it came to Casey Jones that I liked better in the comic book, and reading those things in the novelization was exciting. And like with Casey Jones doing his little street vengeance, taking to the streets, beating up a couple of these thugs who stole some old lady's purse. Raphael goes out there and he sees Casey Jones beating up these kids, and he tries to stop them. Well, they start fighting each other, Casey Jones and Raphael, and it gets too far. And then Casey Jones is like, "Hey, man, you're dangerous," and starts like getting freaked out by how rough Raphael is. And he's like, "What do you mean I'm dangerous?" And he's got to like reflect inside of himself, and he's starting to wonder like about his character. And I thought that was pretty cool to put that in this story.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of extra material for Casey Jones in this book, and I remember something that stood out to me that wasn't in the film was there was a news report, and Casey Jones was watching from his apartment, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
going into description of like his apartment, like it was just filled with sports equipment, and it was just run down, but it's like he didn't care, and it was just he was watching the world, like he was watching the TV, and he was just angry
Yeah,
and filled with rage at the world and how violent it is, which
which
is
fueled his anger.
which fueled his anger and his violence even more. But yeah,
Yeah,
it got dark, like especially that scene in a couple, like because it got to the point where in the film, Casey Jones like hits Raphael with a was it a cricket bat? I'm not sure if that's
yeah,
what they call it. But I do remember the line like you got to know what a crumpet is to know what cricket is,
yeah,
and that line was actually altered in the book. But Casey Jones gets the best of Raphael, and he runs off calling him a freak and everything, and it just kind of cuts off when Raphael can't catch up to him. But in the book, he does catch up to Casey Jones and mercilessly beats him.
yeah. That's when he's like got him in a chokehold, and makes him, doesn't he make him say his name? He's like, "Say Raphael," and then that's when Casey's like, "Man, you're dangerous, man." He like going too far, which played on later on. I thought was pretty funny where Casey Jones sees Raphael alone on a rooftop, and he's like, "There he is. I'm going to go get some payback." But then he sees the Foot Clan kind of sneaking up on Raphael, so he's like, I'm going to go level out the odds. Casey Jones knew that Raphael wasn't a bad guy by this point. He's like, I think I know what his intentions were, because whenever Casey Jones was beating up those young guys in the beginning, he was going too far, and Raphael was trying to stick up for the guys, the kids, saying, "You can't teach them a lesson like this. This is too rough. You're too rough." So I thought it was a good little character arc and little moment for Casey Jones, especially when he like just tags along with the Turtles.
Yeah,
Like,
just later he just tags along with them willy nilly. But
yeah.
yeah, I do like that. It kind of relates them in a way because they're both very I guess aggressive
Hmm.
and like a little violent, but they've always kind of I've seen in several films that they've always had kind of a strong uh, friendship, so to speak. So yeah, I did like that they kind of connected that.
Yeah.
But they one of my favorite things that they tried to add a few elements from the comic book, the classic comic book, not like the original black and white that from the 80s by Eastman and Laird and
Yeah. Issue
like
number one.
mm-hmm, I have that in like a omnibus over there, but it's when Splinter was revealing their origin to April, they they added elements from that comic, like,
Hmm.
and not only that, but they brought in the classic connection to Daredevil because it talked about how a brave young man saved a blind man from being hit by a truck, and it actually answered one question that I had in the film. Whenever Splinter finds the turtles like crawling through the ooze, I was kind of wondering like, where do those turtles come from? Were they just like already there in the sewer? But it in the book, it actually explains that those turtles were originally a kid bought them from a pet store, I think, and during that accident, he just dropped them down the sewer. So I kind of like how we got like some insight as to where the turtles like were when that happened. So and how they
Yeah.
got there.
And, another thing that was pulled straight out of the comic book was the backstory between Splinter and Shredder, like how Splinter, um, his master, was killed. Like in
Mm-hmm.
this one, it was like the Shredder was actually the brother of was I always forget his name for some reason. Oroku Saki.
Yeah, Roku Saki. I think it was his brother's name was Oroku Nagi.
Yeah. So he's killed. And so the brother, like the whole family plans their vengeance and goes over to kill Splinter's master. So uh, I thought that was weaker than the movie plot. I like the movie plot better because the Shredder is the guy that was the foe of Master Splinter's master.
It's a easier connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, it is an easier connection. I mean, both ways could I actually work, but yeah, like in the film, it's just easier just to say that. Well, instead of like having a brother or something, like let's just make it to where Hamato Yoshi,
Yeah.
ran off with uh, the love interest of Shredder, and he's just like, okay, I swear revenge. Just it makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. How about the description of Tatsu being called a bulldog? I believe that's what they called him.
He was uh, he was a little different in the film. I mean, he was well, it wasn't really that he was different. It was mostly like there was one. He was a little bit more aggressive. Um, and I remember like one scene in general where it was the scene where he beats up this kid in the locker room. In the in the film, he leaves him alive, but in the book, he straight up murders him. I don't
Yeah.
think he meant to,
Yeah, it
but
says like he kicked him in the head, and it wasn't the kick that was fatal. It was his skull smashing against like on the ground. And so I thought that was pretty brutal. Like that's the one death, I think, isn't it? The one death that we have is with uh that kid who was actually wasn't he raised to be a foot member like the day before?
I believe so. Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, that was pretty brutal. And the guys that jumped April in the subway, remember how they got punished in the book? I don't recall them getting punished in the movie.
No, I
They
don't
had to
either.
like that Tatsu put like a bandana over the Shredder's shoulder or something, and the four of those guys that didn't get to deliver the full message or full beating of April had to recover that bandana, and they'd be like forgiven of their punishment, but none of them were able to capture the bandana. They just all got kind of beat up from the Shredder. So well, that was cool. They like them like establishing Shredder as like a bigger threat in the book, I thought.
Yeah, I like that too. And honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. Dave Morris, like I he could write a series of Ninja Turtle novels, and I think he did. I want to say he wrote some based off the 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 original cartoon. I think I might have to double check that. I remember reading about that. But if he wrote a series of novels, I would read them all.
Oh yeah.
Like, because his writing was amazing.
Yeah.
Because he was able, like, he blended the film, the comic, very well
It was
in the
seamless.
novelization. Yeah, it was just, it's a very easy read, and I believe it was published by Bantam. But yeah, it was just a very easy read, and it was fun. Like,
Yeah.
it was never a dull moment, and so definitely got to give props to Dave Morris, because that was like, this could, if this wasn't a novelization, it was just a novel, I would still read it. Like,
Oh yeah.
sure, I love
The
reading the comics, but I would definitely pick this off the shelf and read it.
There was a part that I laughed out loud. April is being talked to by another reporter after Charles is telling her, like, "Hey, listen, you need to back off. You're making the police chief angry, and now he's angry at me. So you need to back off." So April's being interviewed with another reporter, and I laughed out loud when her name was June. It's like April and then June. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there was one other difference that I found too, and this is probably like jumping ahead, but it's the ending, the Shredder's demise, like after Splinter throws him into the dumpster. In the book, that's where it's kind of different. In the film, that's where it gets a little darker. In the book, the garbage truck just starts on its own, but in the film, Casey was just like, "Oops," and just straight up attempts to murder the Shredder.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess there are two deaths in this book then.
Yeah, well, sort of. The Shredder didn't actually die.
Right. Right. According, yeah, for the sequel. But it does say that, like, they hear the metal that he's wearing crunch together. So, and I think in the comic book, he actually has a grenade thrown at him, or he catches the grenade and he blows up, and they find just like an arm or something of the Shredder, but there's no body. So it just kind of leaves it open. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And speaking of the ending there, I thought the book did a better job of making it feel like the Turtles were actually putting up a solid fight with the Shredder. Because it's real brief though, because of course in the film we see the Turtles attack Shredder and he just kind of like shoves them off to the side, and they're, oh man, they can't beat him. But in the book, it's like they put up a fight. He gets cut by Leonardo, and it's like he's starting to think, oh man, I'm having some trouble here. But then it quickly, like, they start to mess up, and of course get right back to where Leo is under the foot of the Shredder.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do like, there was a part where the nunchuck duel with Michelangelo and one of the foot ninjas. That one was a little different. I think like in the book, he like, I remember he bops the ninja on the head after like doing some, and he just kind of hits him on the head with it. He's just like, you need to keep practicing, dude. And then in the film, he's just like twirling it around.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's like,
keep practicing.
Yeah. The book definitely captures some humor. The eerie part of the Shredder, he's a creepy guy. I like how they kept having the meetings, which happened, I guess, only 2 or 3 times. I like how Danny tried to be like, oh, I'm going to be part of this group, and he raises his hand. Doesn't he get more attention in the book from the Shredder than in the movie, or was it about the same? I can't.
I remember him getting a little bit more. I know the book paid a little bit more attention to him than the film did, but I did like that we got to see some of the training between the Turtles. They like play games. Like, I remember reading there was one game with like an apple. Like, I think they had to like each take a bite of. Yeah.
When they're out there at the farmhouse doing their training.
Yeah. So I guess moving on, do you have like any negatives for the book?
Honestly, I don't.
Me neither.
I don't. I like how the Turtles, they even called Raphael, it was like towards the beginning, they called him Mr. Intensity. I thought that was funny. I mean, the only thing, I guess, okay, here's a negative. You don't get the Turtles' voices.
That's
true.
What
I'm saying? And their voices really make that movie. Of course, so do the costumes, but like the actors that did the voiceovers, did a fantastic job. But the dialogue, the way that David Morse writes it, I hear their voices in my head, because I've seen the movie so many times. But other than that, like seriously, I have nothing negative to say about the book.
Yeah, me neither. And I 100% agree, though. You don't get the turtles' voices, and because it's the actors, perform delivery of some of those lines where,
Mm-hmm.
that I still quote to this day,
Yeah.
and
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. I love that one. I love that.
But yeah, I don't have any negatives either. It's very, like I mentioned earlier, it's very well written. It's a very easy read. Like you can just knock this whole book out in like 3 hours, and it's a great one. And I'm not I haven't checked to see how available it is online recently,
Mm.
but if it's, to our listeners out there, if it is affordable, I would definitely recommend collecting this one, or at least picking it up to read, because it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
It was a great novelization to kick off this year with.
oh yeah, 100%. We needed some turtle power to get this
Yeah.
season of paper movies going.
Yeah.
My only regret for this episode is that we are not eating pizza.
Yeah, or in a sewer.
Well, I don't regret that we're not in a sewer,
Well,
but I mean, but I do regret that we that are not eating pizza. And
yeah.
if we were in a sewer, though, we'd probably run into the same problem like they did in the film. Like, was it Danny brings some pizza down there and it's got like mold and everything or something
Yeah.
on it?
I think it put some, like, what is it, penicillin or something on it?
Oh yeah. And they're like, saluting it. Da, da, da. That's such a great film, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that we actually have a full novelization for it. I haven't read the young reader one. I have all of them except for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, and the one that you just collected and reviewed, Mutant Mayhem. Yep.
Mutant Mayhem. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I need to, I don't think I did a single cut on that one. I did a review on my channel.
Hey, good opportunity.
So, yeah. Go check that out. Go check out Adam's reviews over there, his channel for the review of the movie.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I did a ranking of all the films too. I'll probably have to update that since Mutant Mayhem came out, but we can post links to where you can watch those in the comments of this video. So, well, I think it's probably self-explanatory, but final grade,
I'm gonna have to give it an A+.
A+.
I really do.
It's definitely one of my favorite novelizations that we discuss. I was really glad that we got to discuss this one this year.
Yeah. And another positive is that when it comes up to the photos, because there's like several pages of photos in the book, that page does end on a period. It's not just like cutting you off in the middle of a sentence to show you some pictures of the film.
Bossa Nova. It was a great book, guys. Definitely, if you are able to, definitely collect this one. Give it a read, and if you have read it, let us know in the comments what you guys thought of it. And
yeah, leave your comments down below. Definitely tell us if you liked it, you hated it, just haven't got around to it yet. If you're on the hunt.
Well, guys, that's pretty much all that we got for today for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can't, sell this book enough. Definitely check it out. And Matthew, you want to go ahead and reveal what we got going on next month?
So next month, in the month of March, the month of March,
the month of March,
the month of March, we'll be talking about the Blues Brothers from Miami Mitch. This one I know can be hard to find at times, but sometimes it does pop up and it could be a pretty decent price. So get this while you can. Read it. Tune in to that discussion. Leave your questions and comments of that book on the Facebook group, here on YouTube in this comment section, I guess, if you really wanted to. And we'll try to address any questions or comments you guys have about future novelizations.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great one. Hope you guys are excited for this season of paper movies as we are. And if there's anything that I could leave you guys with as this video ends, just remember, a wise man have saying, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.